Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Entrepreneur Mike Fallat will be our guest today. Mike will talk about his 300 success stories of helping people write and publish books. He will also discuss the many ways people can reach their potential and make their dreams come true.
Mike Fallat, welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Thrilled to be here, Mark. Thanks so much for having me, man.
My pleasure. Before I get started, I have to do some things I don't really do for other interviews, but most people in that interview I do not know. I want the viewers to know that I met Mike. I was at a friend's store, and someone named Jackie Phillips was doing a book signing, and her book had become an Amazon bestseller. I got to talk to her and asked her how she did it. She introduced me to the great Mike Fallat. He made this book, which was originally not the name anymore, a bestseller, Search and Seizure, my book, my memoir. This is not a commercial, but if you want to write a nonfiction book, especially for your business, Mike is the guy. This is not an infomercial. I don't say this when I have other people on, but you're going to find out during this interview why Mike is the guy. So how's that for an intro, Mike?
That's a great intro, man. You showed the book. It has the, I believe, 69 Mustang on it. What is that? What was that?
Oh, that was a 77 Mustang.
77, that's right.
Yeah, which I had my first seizure in, but you know the whole story, that kind of thing. So, yeah, so it's still, I renamed it. Then a traditional publisher picked it up about 3 years ago. So all this happened because I wrote the book and then because I met Mike. So I want to get into some things now. People can hear some of the many things you do. I heard you sleep at least 2 hours a night, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. Mike, Your business has grown exponentially since we met about 7 or 8 years ago. But let's first talk about the story behind the glory. Things didn't always go well for you in your working life. So how did this all start?
Yeah, man, it's been crazy over the past couple of years, but it's like the bamboo tree, right? Where it takes years and years and years, and all of a sudden you start to see it, and then it just grows tremendously. So it all started 23 years old. I'm 38 right now. So 15 years ago is when my entrepreneur career really started. I became a licensed real estate agent because I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Have you ever read that book, Mark?
I have read it.
Game changer, man. And I know you have an education background, so some of it that you're reading probably doesn't line up with a lot of stuff in the school system. You're like, all right, do I give this to my students or do I not?
Right.
So when I read it, I think I was a senior in college, and I was like, oh my God, this is going against some of the things that I thought were really, really like the Constitution with me, right? Get a job, right? Get a high paying job and have a nice clean office. I read that and I said, man, I want to be this thing called an entrepreneur and I want to buy assets. So I became a licensed real estate agent in 2008. And I bought my first 4-unit building. I was off and running. I thought I was the king of my neighborhood, right? Because I was a 23-year-old with a 4-unit building. And little did I know that that was not made for me, you know, fixing toilets, fixing roofs. So it became a nightmare, you know, when tenants didn't pay a 23-year-old kid. What do I do? Who do I talk to? Well, I got to figure this out because I don't know anybody in this world. So I started doing all that and working the entrepreneur lifestyle as much as I possibly could. But I realized that deep down inside, I was more of a creator. I love starting stuff from the ground up. And that's when I leaned in on my creative skills and started just a regular startup business, an events and entertainment company. That went down in flames, Mark. And so I looked like a fool in front of my friends and family, but I didn't have the ability to throw in the white towel just yet. So I started another one. And that went down. And then I started another one and that failed. And then I started another one and that failed. So 4 failed businesses and I still have the rental property. Well, that's whenever I put it all together, I said, you know what? Why did I fail here? All right. Because I'm not keeping things simple. I'm not understanding demand. And let me focus on something that's very easy to grasp. Let's create a dog product service. And let's create it like a monthly subscription, very similar to BarkBox. And I'll go to dog shows. I'll bring my guitar. I'll sing some songs. And voila. That's what I did. Sold some doggy surprises, made some money. Individuals started coming to me, Mark, and asking me questions about how to start a business. And that's when the light bulb went on. And I said, you know what? Why don't I put down the general principles of what I've learned of what not to do and what to do when it comes to starting a business. The girl I was dating at the time, this is the best, by the way, was an editor. She worked in a bunch of different libraries. And so she kind of knew the world of editing and formatting. She helped me put it together, a book, and then upload it to Amazon. I talked to a guy in my hometown, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I asked him, how do you do the Amazon bestseller trick? Well, he told me the strategy. I wrote it down. I tried it out myself. And early 2000, I guess it was 2016, 2017, I become an Amazon bestseller. And it was just a defining moment in my life. Individuals started coming to me left and right with questions. I thought it would be about starting a business, Mark. Turned out, because I put a book out there and it was so out of left field, that they were shocked that I, Mike Fallat, a BC student, was able to become a best-selling author. They asked me, how do you become an author? And that's when the light bulb went on again. And I said, why don't I just help you write your book? I'll write it. The girl I'm dating will edit it, and we'll put it up on Amazon. We'll turn you into a bestseller. And that's how it all started. We've done 301 bestsellers since that date. We've worked with over 350 entrepreneurs, and yeah, it's been a wild ride, but it hasn't been easy, because it's almost like once you have this tool, this chainsaw of having a book, the world doesn't just open up for you. Right. You still have to go out there and put it out there on the podcast, get the speaking gigs, press releases, and gather all kinds of attention. And what you do with that attention is really what matters. So it's been a wild ride, and I feel like, even though I'm 38 years old, I'm just getting started.
Well, that's amazing. So much to unpack here, and so much resonated to me. First, you mentioned because I was an educator for over 30 years. So first of all, I'm older than you, and I watched the original Rich Man, Poor Man. So when I first saw that book, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a sequel to Rich Man, Poor Man, which starred as Tom Jordache, Nick Nolte, which is one of my favorites of all time. I get it. I read it. And I have to tell you, I like to be a creative like you. So I taught English. So I did teach some excerpts from the book years ago in class, because I don't believe that college, I'm not going to say I'm the only educator. I own a tutoring business for 35 years. It's not just the academic part. It is the creative part. It is being different. What resonated with me is that an outsider looking in, hearing your story, would start to hear, I had this business that failed, this failed, this failed, this failed. So far, the message I'm getting is that you suck. Okay. What I'm then hearing is you do what very few young people do. What am I doing wrong? I do life coaching now, academic life coaching, work with a lot of teens and people in college. And it's always, why not me? I have no luck. It's everybody else. So the fact that you did that is, quite honestly, what I know sets you apart from so many others. And you mentioned the book, and I did all the things you did, and I have this show because it all started from the book. I've been on 60 podcasts and radio shows. There is a difference when they say, here is motivational speaker Marc Hoberman. It's different from, here is best-selling author and motivational speaker. It's just a game changer. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I want people to know that this is not a sales pitch. You speak the truth. I think something like 60% of all adults want to write a book. That's usually a dream, but you make that dream a reality. And that's why you have Dreamstarters. So is that the name of the company that writes the books, Dreamstarters?
Yep, it's Dreamstarters Publishing. That's how it all started. I started to put together that first book called Dreamstarter, the startup business guide for the diehard entrepreneur. And what's really, really cool about putting a book together, it becomes your new moniker, it becomes your identity. And so the book turned into the business, right? I want to help people start dreams. Yeah, the business is definitely a dream, but the dream itself, and I'm writing a book right now called Dreams and Dragons, just having that kid inside of you that is craving for some new life. And maybe it is to get that car or to build that business or to obtain that freedom. My way of looking at it is the book is the sword. It's the tool that will help you get there. And it's wild how I wrote that book. It turned into the company name. It became my Instagram handle, and it became my identity.
That's incredible. You're involved in so many of these things, but I just want to talk about the entrepreneur route. So this is not a myth that you can do whatever you want to do in this country and become whoever you want to become. But I have to say, when I started my podcast, this is, I like to think of this as a talk show more than just a podcast. Nothing wrong with podcasts. But I read a book, I think it was called Contact Marketing. And someone said you should start a podcast. And I said, what does that have to do with marketing? Well, it's very hard to get past the gatekeeper if you want to go in and present, speak, train in the corporate world. But when you call and say, I would like to interview your CEO, magically the gates open. So those things resonate with me so much about the book is just the beginning. And people have said to me before they read the book, Mark, I can't wait to read your book. And I've written 3 since, but I always wanted to do it. You talked about it and you did it. So I know what writing several books has done for me, but tell me what it's done for the many clients you've had besides above, because yours is more gears towards business people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's we focus on nonfiction, personal development, business books. And what we've seen in individuals once they put a book out there is an automatic boost in their confidence, right? They have a trophy that most people do not. You bring up the fact that over 60% of people in the United States have always wanted to write a book. The other statistic that's associated with that is less than 3% ever accomplish it. And in my opinion, there are many dragons that keep them from finishing it, one of which is imposter syndrome. And so if you can beat that imposter syndrome by leaving no doubt, by writing more books, getting on more podcasts, and outperforming your competition, you will boost your confidence. By having that best-selling book, you have market proof. You have social evidence, social proof associated with your name. Individuals will see you having something that they want, and they'll see that other people have bought your book by having the best-selling title, and it automatically lends credibility to your name. So it's that social evidence, it's credibility, it's influence, and what everybody seeks, Mark, is authority, right? The root word for authority is author. Once you have this authority in your world, you are going to be granted opportunities with podcast interviews, speaking gigs, clients. You can assemble a tribe. And it's not just the internals. It's not just the bonuses of having the confidence and maybe a little bit more swagger in your step, but you have more clarity internally and you have more external clarity. The market knows what you're all about. So like I said before, you can hold this book up. It's a shiny object. It's this trophy that attracts all kinds of attention. And then with all of this authority, influence, credibility, attention, you can monetize it with courses and a membership and raising money and new products, new services. And it just never ends from there. The way I look at it also is like it's a rock thrown into a river where it creates multiple ripples. And you can just keep throwing that rock into the river and just keep creating ripples. Like you did, one book will lead to a second, lead to a third. And as you write and you continue to get better at your craft, your stories and your adventures become more exciting. So the book will lead to an opportunity, which will lead to a story, which will lead to a lesson. And then you can take this and do it over and over and over, adding more trophies, more stripes, more badges of honor that you can harness now and forever.
So true. And this authority to talk about that many people call proof of concept. That is so important because when somebody says, here is author, and when you're on the podcasts and radio shows and speaking at schools and corporations, it just keeps snowballing. And I do want you, though, you're the expert at this. So I want you, because people are listening, I know what they're saying. My friends have said this when I wrote a book. I want you to break this myth and bust it now. When someone says to you, I can't write a good book, I'm not a good writer.
Oh. I'm going to smash that right now.
Right.
First off, if there's a book out there that has changed your life, I want you to look into it and I want you to analyze who actually wrote that book. And once you dig deep enough, you'll realize that many of the great books out there were actually ghostwritten by someone else. A book that you might have heard of, The Count of Monte Cristo, was not written by Dumas. He was actually I think it was his idea, his story, but he hired a ghostwriter to write it for him. The book that I talked about previously, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the one that changed my life. I looked into it and I realized at 30 years old, 7 years after I read it, it was actually written by a woman named Sharon Lechter. And the reason why is because Robert Kiyosaki is the brand builder, the business designer, the one who is able to get lots of attention. So he crafted a story, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which the idea came from another individual named Keith Cunningham. So Robert Kiyosaki had the wherewithal to take a story and a lesson. He needed to bring it to life professionally. He hired a great writer I've realized, and Mark, this might hurt your feelings a little bit, but I think women are better writers than men. They are in tune with different details a little bit more than men. So he was smart. He hired a woman named Sharon Lecter and was able to bring it to life for him. Now he's able to use the book to create events and get all kinds of attention. But in order for you to be a great writer, first off, you really just need to have clarity. And if you have clarity, you can always outsource those weaknesses of writing. Jordan Peterson, one of my heroes, says that if you can read and you can write, then you can become dangerous. It is a muscle that if you become a great writer, as time goes on, it becomes more natural for you. It becomes easier to take thoughts and bring them to life on a piece of paper. You become a better communicator. But if you can just communicate your lessons and stories to someone else and have someone else who is just a master of their craft, this is the who, not how approach. There's a book called Who, Not How by Dan Sullivan, which I recommend. Basically says whatever you're not good at, whatever you don't like to do, whatever is not a revenue producing activity, outsource it to someone who that is, they've encompassed that as their source of genius. And once you do that, you can focus on your strengths, and that individual that you hire can focus on their strengths. So if you're not a great writer out there, no biggie. What you can do is basically just focus on what you do best, keep building that brand of yours, keep getting that message out to the world via podcasts and speaking gigs with your clients, growing that team, but have someone who is a great writer just bring it to life in a much shorter time. And here's another piece that I would add to that. Yes, writing a great book is phenomenal, but speed matters. Time frame matters. The reason why is if you sit down and write a book and it comes out 15 years later, you've evolved so much before that comes out, right? In 15 years, you're a different person. So some of the things may make sense. Some things may not at this certain time in life. My recommendation is with a ghostwriter, with someone that can basically bring it to life professionally in a short window, you are able to take a snapshot of your life in a month, 2-month, 3-month window and bring it to life. That book can get done. Done is better than perfect in your eyes. And I think that what keeps people stuck in that writing mode is that you can write and write and write a sentence over and over and over, and it will never be exactly perfect. And why is that? Because perfect is subjective. Jordan Peterson, I brought him up before. He said he wrote every sentence in his first book 15 times. Now, he doesn't do that in his other books, but in that first book, he just kept rewriting. Why is that? Because if you look into it, maybe it was some type of voice that says, it's not ready, it's not done. You could say it a better way. And yes, you might be able to, but as long as it teaches a lesson, tells a story, and is a value add to the readers, it's going to help them get to where you're at now. And once it's done and it's out there on the shelves and you're getting all these opportunities, eventually it's going to help you get to where you want to go.
So we talk about school, we talk about classrooms. Everybody wants to sit with the cool kids. So how does someone get to be a part of Mike's inner circle?
Great question. Great segue too. So I have a group called Mike'sInnerCircle.com if you want to check it out. Actually, it's joinMike'sInnerCircle.com. And you'll be able to see what we have to offer. Basically, we have a bunch of entrepreneurs that get together twice a month. We talk about entrepreneurship, raising money, how to better ourselves. We're all about self-development, self and personal development journeys. So like what books are we reading, all the different tips and tricks. And we learn from experts who come into the inner circle and teach what they know and how they did certain, certain goals and certain dreams of theirs. How did it come to fruition? So basically Mike's Inner Circle is my tribe. And my recommendation is if you're going to put a book out there, put together some type of tribe, right? Because the moment people read your book and learn from you and they fall in love with your backstory that, you went through a divorce, you started a business, you love dogs, whatever it is, they're going to want to do business with you in some capacity, whether it's now or later. So use the book as a way to build a tribe. And if people get the book, right, you get their phone number, the address, the email that's associated with that individual, you can nurture that individual into a relationship and eventually into a tribe member. So Mike's Inner Circle is really about finding patriot entrepreneurs that love to work together, build together, and play together. And I think that anybody who puts a book out there, deep down, they would love to have a tribe that they can count on, rely upon, and help grow.
So true. Give me that website one more time. Is it joinmike'sinnercircle.com?
Yep. Joinmike'sinnercircle.com is the official page that you can take a look at and see if it's something that you're interested in. And if you're ever interested in getting a book done, like I said, and you just have questions about that, you have no interest in joining this inner circle, Dreamstarters Publishing is our website. You can always schedule a time with me directly, and I can explain how all that flows together.
Outstanding. In closing, Mike Fallat, thank you for joining us today and sharing your experiences in business, as well as your personal story of overcoming adversity and the struggles you had to overcome. So thank you so much for that. To the viewers, don't forget to watch us on E360 TV, available on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. EST, available on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories with Marc Hoberman is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us today. It was so great to see you again.
Mark, thank you so much. Guys, if you're out there and you're going through a tough time in your life and you're in a ground zero moment, I'm telling you, life is teaching you something. It could be the greatest moment. It could be the most freeing moment. There's a lesson there. Your story, there's a lot of power. Lesson combined with story can serve you and others. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.